Okay, so today we're looking at OurFamilyWizard's expenses and their OFWPay. So when you go into your OurFamilyWizard account or your app, you will see that you have an expenses tab. And under this expense tab, you can see that it keeps track of all of the expenses coming and going to your co-parent. Over here on the sidebar, it shows what you owe and what they owe. And it keeps, again, like I said, the expense log, which is this information here, tells you how much, what the split is, and the total. So when you come into this and you create an expense report, you don't have to worry about doing the math or anything. You just put in the total price of the receipt, and it automatically will divide it in half for you and set it up so that that's what they have to pay. When you create an expense, you will be able to attach an image of the receipt, which is very important. All right. So here you can see the actual payment activity. This is a little bit different. This is the expense log here. This is the actual payment activity, which shows what you've paid and what has been sent to you. All right. So see how it says I sent $46 for a dentist fee. And it's split out for medical, dental, and these are little automatic categories that you can set up. Uniform, we decided we were going to go ahead, even though we weren't required to, we went ahead and split that 50-50. So keep in mind, you have a order that will tell you got to split medical, insurance, whatever. Ours does not specifically say anything outside of medical, but we did agree previously before signing him up for some stuff that we were going to split the costs. And so this is a perfect way to keep track of that kind of information. So again, going back to the categories, there's no split for personal stuff. This is an automatic category that OurFamilyWizard creates. Actually, all of these are. We didn't create these. Yeah, so there's a 50-50 split for general, medical, other. So this page here is actually, I just wanted to show you again the last viewed. And this is when you create an expense. So if I paid $15, I would put in the total, $15 paid. All right. And this was for some prescriptions. The overall total was the $30. So 50% of that is the $15. And it was paid on this day, and I attached a receipt to this. Or actually, co-parent attached a receipt to this because I paid the $15. So it shows you over here where it was created, when you approved it, and when the payment was made. Now, it is important to note that if you're not using OFWPay, you can pay with cash and you can pay with a check or whatever means necessary to pay your co-parent. And you can still input that information into the log here. The problem is if you pay with a check or cash or any other payment outside of OurFamilyWizard's payment processing, the co-parent then has to come back in and confirm that you've paid them. So you're actually reliant on them being honest and coming back into the app and saying, yes, he did pay this in cash. Otherwise, there's no record of that. So that's why OFWPay is very important if you use the app, because it will automatically keep track. There's no confirmation on anybody's end saying, yes, they did or didn't pay. It's all within the app. It automatically knows, and it's just an automated system. It works perfectly. I say perfectly, but there are a couple of downsides, which I'll get into in just a second. So when you create a new expense, so you have gone to the doctor and you've paid a bill, you get to come in and create a new expense. So you get to select who owes, what the expense was. So doctor's visit, category, medical, and the total bill. So if it was $500, put in $500. Here it shows you what the breakout is in the percentage. So 50%, who it was for. So if you've got multiple children, you can select what kids it was for, and the date, and make sure you try and put the date that's on the actual receipt. And then you can add your receipt here. All right. I don't know why there would be a private expense here unless you are just documenting that you paid so much for something that maybe isn't in the order to be split. And then you just hit create, and it'll create you a new expense. and it automatically sends it to your co-parent. So you don't even have to send a message saying, hey, you owe me this much money. It's automatically done for you. Now, OFWPay is very simple. You go in, you add an account, select how you're going to pay, whether it be a checking account, credit card, whatever. And we do not pay for the extra upgraded whatever. And there's a limit to how much you can send back and forth in I think it's a year. And it shows you all that information. All right. So lastly, again, I wanted to show you the expense log. When there is a discrepancy, like here, there's a second backpack because he ruined his other one or whatever, and co-parent refused to pay it. So it says so-and-so refused and how much money they refused. When I went to go purchase school supplies, I put the school supplies in at a 50-50 split. Here's the total. Co-parent refused to pay for school supplies. All right. When you refuse a item or payment being sent to you, so like these counseling fees here, we had a long back and forth about these counseling fees, and she kept sending me, that I owed this much money, and I kept refusing it because she was not providing a actual receipt. She was just providing a insurance explanation of benefits and not an actual receipt. So I had no way to know if this was the actual amount that was being paid. So I refused it until I was given a bank statement and actual receipts. This is part of the drama that we had to deal with when we first started getting into this kind of stuff. So again, that's one of the reasons why it's perfect to have a system like this, because it will show you a refusal or an approval and how much has been paid in that situation. And I'd like to actually discuss a couple of downsides to this. One is if you refuse to make a payment, OFW does not give you an option to explain why it's being refused within the payment system. You would then have to go back and write them a message saying, hey, I'm refusing this payment for whatever reason. It would be really nice if they would give you an option to put in some comments or some notes with your payment or your refusal to explain why it is you're refusing that. Because otherwise, if you went to court and they said, well, they refused to pay this bill, you would have to then provide a separate section of messages saying why. So if you refuse something, always send them a message, document why it is that you are refusing that payment. And lastly, one of the other things that I have an issue with is with OFWPay. There was a situation where I made a payment, and the same day it was withdrawn and sent to my co-parent. My co-parent had 2 bills that she needed to pay, and OFWPay said that payment was made, payment was withdrawn, and payment was deposited into my account. Well, 4 days later, I had not received the payment yet. Ultimately, the following morning at like 5 a.m., 5:40 something a.m., I got a notice saying a deposit was made into my banking account. Other than that, it's actually a really good system. I would highly recommend OurFamilyWizard. I'll put a link in the description below so you can check it out yourself. I highly recommend it, especially for the payments. And that's a big issue with a lot of people that are in high conflict situations. So keep that in mind. OurFamilyWizard, good co-parenting app. If you found any value out of this, please make sure to like the video and consider subscribing. I appreciate it.